Evening, everyone. Welcome to LFC Transfer Room. I'm here tonight, joined by Paul and Race to discuss all the updates, injury updates, and all the stuff that's going on around Liverpool Football Club. Today, the past few days, and probably for the next few weeks. Now, we have quite a few topics that we're gonna dive into in just a moment. I'm just gonna ask you to please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps the channel grow. And also, please leave your comments below. We'd love to have you and talk about all these things together as a community. So, Paul, how are you doing tonight, mate?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. We have a nice weather here in Canada for winter. It's just like -7, I think, today, so that's pretty good for us. I think we're doing better here than my colleagues at Anfield because with so many injuries, I'm kind of worried. But you know what? It's another day. We have another game tomorrow, so we have another chance to get 3 points. So let's hope for the best. But personally, I'm doing fine.
Yep. Good to hear. Good to hear. Race, what about you?
Well, honestly, the past few days I've been a little under the weather, unfortunately. But thankfully, I haven't been around the Liverpool team at all over here in the States, so I'm not getting anyone else sick or out of the team. We already got too many injuries to count up right now. But I'm getting through it. Obviously, watching Liverpool helps that. Got a couple week games. Of course, this week. It's always nice to have these midweek, and of course the cup final to look forward to as well. But yeah, looking forward to it.
You're from Minnesota, right?
I'm in Idaho, and now in
So
in
the
if you
weather's
know where Idaho is.
a bit. I think it was really cold in Minnesota, so I was about
Oh
to
yeah.
tell well, it is what it is. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, good to have everyone on. Good to see the comments. Yes, third one in a row, Muse indeed. Quite the run I'm on. Hopefully, I'm inspiring the lads to get the 3 points as well tomorrow, so we have a nice symmetry going on. So yeah, we're just going to dive into it now. We've had Jurgen Klopp's presser today, and we were hoping to get a better view on the injuries that we have and to maybe have a better, I don't know how to say it, maybe uh, to know the length of these injuries a bit better, to be a bit sure on who we can rely on in the foreseeable future. Now, we don't really have that, at least not that I can understand it. I'm gonna try and go through every player that was mentioned in the presser. So it's Alisson is out for the foreseeable future. Diogo Jota ruled out. Jones ruled out. Trent and Dom on the way back, but not in team training yet. So they're probably not going to feature tomorrow. Nothing on Darwin Nunez and Mo Salah, so I would assume they are okay. Hopefully, they can be at least on the bench. Hopefully they'll be on the bench tomorrow. I don't know. I don't think we can necessarily risk them, as we have a cup final to also think about on Sunday. So quite the quite a conundrum we're in now. Paul, I'm gonna ask you about pretty much all these things that you just heard me talk about. I'm hoping on Mo Salah and Darwin to start on Sunday. Can we hope that we might have Trent or Dominic Soboslai? And do you think we could start them on Sunday, even if they haven't played any minutes before that?
Well, um, knowing how the club think, I think they will always play it safe. I think the safety of the players is paramount. So even though we desperately want to win our first trophy of the year, if there's a risk, I'm pretty sure guys would not play, or they would not play them. So I'm hoping that Soboslai is available, but he will only feature if the club is convinced that he's 100%. So we'll see. And even if he's available, I would expect him to start. Um, Other than that, I think we will just have to do with the players that are fit right now, and hopefully nobody else gets injured. Whether they are any freak injury during training. But it's gonna be tough because and it's kind of unfair to us because we are playing tomorrow and then play Chelsea on Sunday. and then Chelsea's game that was scheduled for tomorrow has been postponed. So they have 3-4 more days to rest their players while we have to be out there fighting for 3 points. But we are Liverpool, so we have never had it easy. So we just have to just push through. But when I look at even our midfield, if everybody is fit, you could argue that our midfield three would be Szoboszlai, Curtis Jones, and Trent if Conor Bradley is playing right back. Now, all three of those guys, which are arguably our starting midfield three, even though Maka would have something to say about that, are not available. Look at our forward line. Diego Jota, our most clinical striker, is out. Darwin Nunes, well, he might be available, but we're not sure because he obviously is nursing something. Mo Salah just came back from injury. So we are really going through a very, very difficult time. But we know that we need a squad to be able to compete. I think we have a very deep squad. So we just have to just trust the manager, trust the players, and hope that we can somehow put up a performance and be able to succeed. But it's going to be tough. Think about people like Alisson. I can't remember the last time we had so many first team players missing. But we are Liverpool. We don't deal in excuses. So we just have to just go out there. I think having Luton at home is probably a game that if we have to have a game, one of those teams at home is probably the best case scenario. But having said that, when you have injuries, it's really tough.
Yep. There is quite the argument there, especially about Liverpool not doing things the easy way. I think we're all used to that, but obviously now we get these injuries, and obviously some of those. We see Chelsea having some extra days to prepare for the final. It's obviously a bit discouraging, but I still feel that even in this current situation, I feel like I'm fairly confident for Sunday. But famous last words. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I feel like, indeed, I do agree with you, Paul. Having Luton at home is probably the best sort of game that you can have ahead of a cup final. 3 days later. So even with so many first team players out, I still feel we can get past Luton pretty comfortably, and then obviously we can discuss what happens later on Sunday. So, Race, your thoughts on Alisson, Trent, Dominic, Salah, Nunez? Your perfect scenario would be maybe starting Salah and Nunez on Sunday. Do they get some minutes tomorrow? Do Trent and Soboslai or Trent will probably not be fit, but would you start Dominic on Sunday even if he doesn't have any minutes before that?
I would be very cautious to do so. To start Szoboszlai on Sunday, given that his hamstring injury was one that he re-injured, and those are so tricky to navigate, especially that hamstring. I mean, it's running, it's everything you do on the pitch. So, I would be careful. It's just the situation we're in. It's unfortunate, but we still have a lot of season left after this game. You can't just blindly go into a League Cup final and just send it all in. I mean, yeah, we want to win the League Cup, but we have bigger ambitions this season. So you have to be careful in bringing him back. Hopefully, if he is able to make a bench tomorrow, we're in a situation where we're up, a few goals and we can bring him on, get him some minutes, but I would still be very cautious to bring him on even in that scenario. And the tough part about the League Cup final is even if he doesn't start that game as well and you want to bring him on, I mean, there's a possibility if the game goes to extra time and then he's got to play even more minutes, which you don't want. I'd say if he doesn't start on Sunday, I wouldn't bring him on until extra time because you at least know he's going to be playing this amount of minutes. He's not going to, have to play an extra, 30 minutes in a game, So I would be, I'm just, that's my belief of just with that hamstring, just be cautious with it. Salah, I don't know how much of a concern his little injury or whatever is going on with him. I think that was just kind of some smoke and mirrors. I don't know because it's just the the hot topic right now around the club. Everyone's getting hurt, everyone's dinged up, whatever, I mean, the reality is a lot of these guys get hurt throughout the year and we just don't see it, and they play hurt. It's not always reported that someone has a knock or an injury. They'll play through it sometimes, but I would still, for me, I would still put him on to start tomorrow. Nunez, again, assuming there wasn't any, we didn't really talk about him today. I would think Nunez is fit. I would still, question if he would start or not. We'll probably get into that later when we, pick who will start and whatnot. But yeah, it's just a tough spot right now. Because it's a situation where we need to look at our team tomorrow. You have a League Cup final in preparation in the back window. It's not just a regular league game on Sunday. It is a final. It's something that we want to win and really put our best foot forward for. So you could see some resting going on tomorrow. And of course, you don't want to underestimate Luton. Of course, we drew at their ground earlier this season, so we know how tough they are. I would expect, though, at Anfield, it's a bit of, it's a better environment for us. We should definitely win the game and hopefully control more of it and not prevent prevent the silly goal that they had last time. I think it was just some counterattack goal that they had. We'll be a little more sharper, I think. But yeah, it's just a situation we're in. Alisson, the injury, of course, to him is unfortunate. Thankfully, we have a good backup in Kelleher who performed well on Brentford, I would say, in our last game. He really, but maybe because we won 4-1, it didn't seem as important, but he made some good stops in that game. And he'd struggled earlier this year, so it's good to see him get a little bit of form. And of course, he played in this game, in this League Cup final 2 years ago when we beat Chelsea. So he has that experience under his belt, so he won't be, shy away from the moment. And he played well in that final too. Of course, hitting the penalty as well. He's got, I'm not concerned about him in goal as long as we have the team. And I am still relatively comfortable that we'll win on Sunday as well. But we can't overlook tomorrow's game, which, of course, we're in this league title race. We can't overlook any of these games because, a point dropped here or there can be detrimental, as we know, in the end of May.
Yeah, obviously, I think that all of these games now are extremely important. And I was just looking at the schedule. In the meantime, we have Luton tomorrow. 3 days later, we have Chelsea. 3 days later, there's Southampton. 3 or 4 days later, we have Forest, and then a whole week to prepare for the Anfield clash against Man City. Now, what's interesting about this is with all these injuries that we have, if we can win pretty much every game that we have until then, which there's 4 matches, if we can get past all of these teams, we can get to the 10th of March, play City and Anfield while being top of the table, still, even if they win all of their games that they haven't had, which is the one game that's going on right now. We could be in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup and winners of the EFL Cup. So I think if we can get through this whole time and win everything up until that City match with all these injuries that we have now piling up, I think that should give us a great momentum and great confidence to head into that, and to give us the belief that it can actually happen. We can actually win multiple trophies this season. Now we'll obviously see what happens. Hopefully we can just take it game by game and get some of the players back by the City game, and then obviously shortly after that there's an international break, and then maybe things will start settling down, and we'll see where we are by that time. So um, hopefully we've answered as many possible questions that were before starting this live stream on the players that we might have available. I'm gonna give you another reminder to please drop your comments as well to be part of the conversation. Let us know what you think. We're gonna try and obviously take some of the comments and discuss on them as well. Okay, so now that we've taken into account all of these injuries, I'm gonna ask you to maybe give me a starting 11 for tomorrow, and then maybe we can go and talk about the cup final as well. I think it's going to be difficult, even if Mo Salah and Darwin are, let's say, fit and ready to go and 100%. Do we start him tomorrow? I was thinking maybe before the live stream that a trio of Luis Diaz, Cody Gakpo, and Harvey Elliott might be on the cards for tomorrow. And now I'm gonna ask you, Paul, what do you think about that? And what do you think the midfield will be tomorrow? Because if Harvey goes and plays right wing, then automatically
Hmm.
we can play him in midfield. So we're gonna have to play Gravenberg. Will probably play. We have Endo, McAllister, no Thiago as we're used to, no Bajcetic as we're used to. So yeah, I don't know. Who would you play in midfield, forward, and maybe even the back line?
Well, I I have not seen a game that Harvey Elliott has started at on the right wing that he has impressed me. So I think we are forcing him to play right wing in these situations just because he's left-footed. Harvey Elliott is not a right winger. He's too slow. He's too small. He doesn't have the guile to be out there. He is very good in the middle of the park. He's a very good presser. And but I don't want to see Harvey Elliott. Well, he would not be my choice to play in the front three because I just don't think that's his best position, even with our limited resources right now. So I know Salah is just coming back from injury, but if you look at Salah's career, Salah has been, kind of an Iron Man. He's really been out, for, and I get the impression that this injury was not really that serious, and he could have possibly returned earlier if we push him. So I would expect Salah to start, not necessarily to play the entire 90. Hopefully, we can get some goals and we can take him off, midway the second half. But I would expect him to start. And of course, the only other options we have in the front would be Cody through the middle and Lucho at the right, on the Lucho on the left wing. Um, I'll probably give Nunes a rest. He might be not too injured, but the fact that they took him off halftime in the last game, meaning there must be some concern. So I would probably keep him in the shed, but on the bench. In the middle of the park, um, even with that setup, I would still have Harvey Elliott on the bench. Harvey Elliott to me is a super sub. So Gravenberch had his best game for us in quite a while, or probably the best game as a Liverpool player in the last game coming on when he did. So I would probably give him a start, and then obviously Maka and Endo. Yes, we are looking at Sunday, but the 3 points is also very, very critical because I'm sure you all agree with me that we want to win all four competition, but the Premier League is by far the most important of the four. So we can't get too cute and then regret it. And Luton is not pulling up trees, but they are the best of the three that came up from the championship. So there are no bugs. At the back, it's just a matter if we want to give Kodate a break and play Kwanzaa with Verge. But any two from those three are be fine. And then it will be Robbo and Robbo on the left. I would probably give Gomez a break on the bench as well. As it relates to the goalkeeper, we were all thinking that if we get 20 million for Queeve, it would be a good deal to sell him. But now I'm so happy that we didn't because to me, Queeve worth more than 20 million for us right now. Because, I mean, he is about 75% of Alisson, but how many backup goalkeeper around, that we could get that we would have the confidence that we have in Queeve. Certainly, we don't want to see Adrian. So I'm hoping that for the next season, we just give him a nice salary increase because $10,000 a week versus Adrian 60 is kind of an injustice. So I have a little bit of confidence in Queeve. Let's hope that he doesn't get injured because none of our luck, it might just happen. But I still believe that we have enough talent to beat Luton, enough talent to beat Chelsea. But man, with the injuries, it's so much stress on the other players. We have to rely on some of the youngsters. I'm not sure which one I know McConnell is a good player, but McConnell plays mostly as a six. So with Endo and Mac available, I'm not sure if McConnell might be the right player to come off the bench or to start. But right now we just need some bodies on the bench that is fit, and we just hope that we can just come through. So we just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it is. It is obviously a critical match indeed for the one tomorrow, because indeed I think it's very easy to maybe not talk about as much and not talk about Luton as much as they as maybe would have to, because indeed winning against Luton and Forest, I think, is extremely important before we head into that city fixture in Anfield. So indeed, it is going to be a pretty difficult week. So, Race, your thoughts on the team that should go out tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll start from back to front. Goalkeeper, of course, Kelleher. Just continuing on. He's our main guy for the time being. So no changes there. Center backs, I'd go Van Dyke, and then I would give Kwanzaa a start and give Kanate a rest ahead of the cup final on Sunday. I would go Robertson as left back, and then I would have Gomez as right back, giving Bradley a little bit of a rest as well, making sure he's firing for Sunday. And so, and then going towards the midfield, I will say this: I wouldn't be surprised if either McConnell or Bobby Clark get a start here. Just because of we have the League Cup game this week, and like I said, it's not just a regular game; it's a cup final. It's one that we're going to go for, and it's a game where it possibly could go into extra time, and you're going to need extra bodies. So you want to make sure that the guys you have are fit and ready to go and rested and whatnot. So I wouldn't be surprised if either one of them gets started. And I think they're both kind of in that number 8 role. I don't think either of them are holding number 6. I think that's kind of where they would start in that Curtis Jones or Szoboszlai spot. Obviously, they're not the same type of player, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of them gets a start here, just because of the nature of the game that we do have that we're looking forward to. I'm not bold enough to necessarily predict them in my starting lineup, but I will just say be on the lookout for one of those to possibly start, because they've been getting some run in late in games, at least getting their legs under them. And so, Klopp trusts them. They've been on the bench a number of times, so I wouldn't be surprised to see either of them. But I will say, I'd have Endo then as a number 6 holding midfielder. I would have McAllister, and then I would have Harvey Elliott in my midfield. I think this is a game where, it's a game where we're not going to be having, Harvey's his defensive duties or his inabilities, aren't going to be called upon as much. He doesn't have to do much of that because we're going to have the ball, and Brentford or not Brentford, Luton are going to be, sitting deep ideally. So, had that, holding onto the ball or getting tackled one, I don't think it's going to be much of an issue. He can just kind of focus on pinging passes forward. He's got a, great range of passing there. I think it's a game for him to start and get some minutes in. Again, with the thinking that Gravenberch would be kind of starting on Sunday. But like I said, McAllister, Endo, Elliott for me in that midfield. And I will say, with all these guys, I'm sure Klopp is saying to them, to the guys that are going to start tomorrow and on Sunday, to just be careful out there, just to manage yourself. Don't try to overexert yourself. I know it's tough because you don't want to overlook the opponent, but you can tell your guys, hey, if you feel something, don't let us know right away. Don't try and push through anything. I mean, it's really, really be careful out there. And just given all of our injuries too, we don't want to lose yet another player. It's just kind of a precarious situation. And then up top, I would have Diaz on the left, Gakpo through the middle, and then Salah on the right. I think Salah is fit enough to play. As Paul mentioned, he's an Iron Man. He starts every game if he wanted to. That's just the level of fitness he's at. I think, he looked sharp at the weekend, coming on. And so hopefully it's a game where you don't have to run him in the full 90. But, you certainly, I think you can trust him to go out there and put in the shift. And then Gakpo, just to give Diaz a little, or Nunez a little rest. If there is a little injury concern there, you just play that safe again. And Gakpo, it's not like we're, dropping off from Gakpo. It's not like he's still a damn good player. We're not missing much, from with not having Nunez in the team. It's still that's why you have a squad. That's why you have rotation and whatnot. It's a very nice luxury to have. And then Diaz on the left. I just don't see another player to really put in that position right now. And that's one that's going to have to we have to make sure that we don't run Diaz in the ground too. We have to find some mids for him to get to the rest. But again, being a professional, sometimes you have to put your head down and just play, a number of games in quick succession. Again, hopefully this type of game, it's wishful thinking. You don't want to overlook the opponent, but hopefully we can get up a couple goals and just kind of manage ourselves, in the game and not have to worry about, chasing a goal or trying to get 3 points or whatnot, or a draw, or even, something like that. We want to make sure we wrap this game up, and put ourselves, in a good position to have everyone relatively fresh, going into this cup final.
Yeah, obviously overlooking Luton would be a mistake for tomorrow, especially as we recently had an experience like this against Burnley at Anfield, where I think heading into that one, honestly, I was expecting us to win a bit more comfortably than we actually did. I know Kelleher saved us once or twice, making two, I think, if I remember correctly, two one-on-one saves. So it was a bit more difficult than I expected it to be. And yeah, I think to add to your point, I think it's obviously critical to avoid any sort of injuries now going forward, because at this point we don't really have too many other options to come on. So I think um, keeping our players fit is probably the biggest priority now, and trying to take it game by game, match by match, win pretty much as much as we can. So yeah, both of you have mentioned the importance of some of the youngsters that we have, especially in McConnell and even Clark, in the middle of the park. Considering that we have now a few pretty busy weeks, so we have, I think, in the next 2 weeks we're gonna have 4 games, so it is going to be a bit packed, let's say. How would you rate the importance of these youngsters, and how much overall can you see them play? And by youngsters, I mean Clark, McConnell, Bradley at right back. Even if Trent is back, would Bradley play? Would Gomez play on the right? Who do we play on the left? Does Gomez keep his place? Do we start Robertson? How Paul, how do you view all these questions regarding the youngsters and their involvement in the next 2 weeks? Would you expect to see them play maybe more than, let's say, 70-80 minutes against Southampton in the FA Cup?
Well, against Southampton, I would expect to see a lot of the youngsters. Um, Southampton game, yes, it's the FA Cup, and we want to win as much as we can. But if we have to sacrifice a game, it would have to in the next couple of weeks, or to take chances, I should say. That is the game in which we have to. Um, a lot of these youngsters, because we don't see much of them playing, we don't really know how good they are. But obviously, the coaching staff knows quite a bit more about these youngsters than we do. So, let's face it, none of them would be in and around the team if they weren't talented. So we just have to trust the team that they know that these guys are talented, and have confidence in them, um, when they get the opportunity. So, because, as I said already, I had no idea that Conor Bradley was this good until he got his opportunity. When everybody is fit, the question is, where do we send him to the bench, or do we put Trent in midfield? Because the thought of having Trent on the bench if he's 100% fit in a big game is kind of unheard of. Now, obviously, that's not a choice that we have to make right now, because Trent is not available. But it's going to be very interesting to see how the team treat a situation when everybody's available. Hopefully against the Man City game, because I I prefer Conor Bradley type of play at right back than to have that inverted Trent in the midfield. We all know how good Trent is, and we know the advantage of having him invert in midfield. But there's also the team actually lose something as well when you bring the right back into midfield or into the fullback. because you don't have that player on the right down the touchline to overlap with Mo Salah. So you gain something by having your fullback invert, but you also lose something in terms of the ability to make the field big and to stretch opponents. So it's going to be interesting to see how the club does it. I don't think we're going to have that problem anytime soon, as I said, because there's a lot of injuries going around. But let's see how it pans out. But I am really, really looking forward to see Connor Bradley playing on that right hand side for the foreseeable future. And I think he is our right back going forward. We just have to find another position for Trent. That's how I see it. I don't know if I am, recency bias, where I'm worried too much about, what we have seen over the last 3-4 weeks and forget about the last 4 years of Trent. But I think Connor Bradley should be our right back of the future. I don't know. I know Race might disagree with me, but that's why we're here to have a discussion.
Yep. Indeed. So, Race, how about you? How do you view the youngsters' role in the next few weeks? As Paul said, I think we honestly expect them to start maybe against Southampton a week, the week after. But how much of a role do you think they'll play in the next few matches, or maybe even after that? Just a second before I'm gonna let you answer the question, I want to answer to this one. Electric, if you've subscribed to the channel and you've also pressed the bell button next to the subscribe one, I think you should get the alerts. So make sure you do that. Race, I'm gonna let you answer the question now.
Yeah, they're obviously gonna play with the FA Cup coming up. That's the competition now, especially in these earlier rounds against a championship side, albeit Southampton having a decent year in the championship. They'll play a role in that one for sure. And of course, we've already seen Connor Bradley kind of break through into the team, and now he's created this discussion of, do we want to, when Trent's back fully fit, I mean, can we just put Bradley out of the team and put Trent right back there when we know, albeit I think some of the defensive things about Trent are a little overstated. He still is, he's not the perfect defender. He still has his lapses and bad performances. So if we can just highlight what's best about him, which is his incredible range of passing, and he still is, a capable defender, I think his ultimate future, I think, lies in midfield in that number 6 position, or maybe even forward if you want to explore more of his attacking capabilities. But Connor Bradley has certainly shown on both ends of the pitch. I mean, defensively too, I've been really impressed. Like, he hasn't looked out of place at all. He's he's got long legs. He's a taller player. I was really surprised when he came into the team first, like that's how natural he looked there. And as Paul said, we don't see how good these guys are until we see them in game action for the first time. We're not behind the scenes in training and whatnot. So that was just a really nice kind of a surprise to see, because I think we all forgot about Connor Bradley given his I think it was a back injury he had to begin the season. And so it's really good to see him kind of come into the team. And he's not like he's not the youngest. I think he's 20 years old, so he's not like a teenager, and certainly making his professional debut. I think he was out on loan last season, so he's certainly an experienced player in that regard. So he's one that he's making a push to become a key cog in our team, down the stretch in a title winning season, or a title challenging season. And so the other midfielders, you got the youngsters McConnell and Clark. Like as I mentioned, I wouldn't be surprised to see them start a game tomorrow, just given how our squad looks and given the game that we have to look forward to in a League Cup, in a game that could extend beyond a 90 minutes. So their services could be required, and we're playing an opponent that's towards the bottom of the table. They're not gonna attack as much, you would think, and it's kind of a nice spot to come in and put in a performance. And another thing too is you have a whole team around you of experienced professionals and great players, so there's not as much pressure on you, I would say, to perform. You just have to do your job. Don't really make any mistakes. Don't overthink it, and just have a game, and just kind of use this opportunity to show your quality. And so again, with the FA Cup coming next week, I would that's a spot where they would get some minutes, especially with our League Cup game, obviously concluding, and that'll be an intense game, no doubt. Um, and yeah, it just speaks to the squad depth that we have, and the players that we have, and the youth, and how they're be brought into the team. So it's exciting too, because we get to see these players for the first time really kind of make their break, and see how they can perform, as we already saw with Connor Bradley, and now maybe one of these other guys can put in a good shift and have us excited.
Yeah, I think the only
I
thing
have a question.
yeah.
Yeah, do you guys know the rules as it relates to players on loan? Um, with all the problems we're having with injuries, players like Fabio Carvalho, Calvin Ramsey, those kind of players, Tyler Martin. What are the rules? Can we just recall them in the middle of the season? I just don't know.
I'm not sure on those rules there, to be honest. I think, yeah, I'm not sure.
Mm.
I think it's
If
between
somebody could just research it and put it in the chat, because people like Fabio Carvalho, we could use some players like that, just the talented players who with the injuries. So I just wondered. So if somebody could just research it and put it in the chat so we could know, because I just thought about that. We have so many good players that are injured right now. So instead of forcing back some of our stars 2 3 weeks early, can we get reinforcement? I don't know.
I think that they might sound good on paper, but I think in reality, it's going to be, it's just a few weeks that we'd be recalling them for, and we'd be taking them away from that environment they've been playing in all season. I believe they've been getting regular game time. At least think Tyler Morton has. And it just to recall them
Mm.
for a few games and then kind of shove them back to the bench. I think
Yeah.
that would kind of ruin the purpose of what they loan. It's I mean, yeah, when we go through these injury crises, we just kind of
Mm.
look,
Mm.
oh, who can save us? Who can we bring in as a player, to put in? But I think that one's a little bit of a
Mm.
um, not much of a
Yeah,
possibility.
that's true. Mm.
yeah,
Okay,
I
makes
think
sense.
it depends on how the clubs have negotiated. At the beginning, as far as I know, I think we could recall them, but I think, as Ray said, I don't know if that's necessarily a great idea. I know with Carvalho, for example, there's been rumors about him, and his um, involvement, his relationship with the manager and the staff. I'm not sure if they'll necessarily be a good idea. Now, obviously, those are just rumors, but yeah, I wouldn't know. Um, so yeah, I think what I wanted to say a bit earlier was that I think the only thing I'm grateful for in this whole scenario is that now we have at least we know we're going to play a championship side at Anfield in the FA Cup next week. So I think that kind of helps us out a bit with especially now in the context of having so many injuries and so many games. Because honestly, I think if we would have gotten a top six, top eight Premier League side on Wednesday as well, I think it would have been just a lot more difficult to navigate, because now obviously we can play the youngsters against Southampton, maybe hope for of getting get going through. So okay, I'm gonna remind you once again to please like and subscribe to the channel. And I think this will be it for tonight. I'm gonna thank you all of you for joining in, for leaving your comments, for liking and subscribing to the channel. It really does help a lot. Thanks a lot to Paul and Race for helping on and being part of the conversation. It's always great to have you on. So yeah, make sure to come back pretty much every day, 7:30 UK time, and after the matches, don't forget we do have a stream on Sunday after the EFL Cup Final at what is it, 5 UK time, 5 p.m. UK time. So you'll never walk alone. Up the Reds. See you tomorrow at 7:30 UK time, and have a great one.